You're watching the Military Channel. Go behind the lines.
They're known as mountain soldiers.
We're in the dirt, we're in the mud, we're in the weather, we're in the cold.
But these tough troops are ready to go anywhere, anytime.
Sure.
Always evolving, they've been around the globe, from the mountains of Italy to Baghdad.
Somalia to Bosnia to Haiti to Kosovo, Iraqi freedom to enduring freedom.
They're the Army's go-to unit, and proud of it.
If you want the best infantry soldier on the ground, that's the 10th Mountain Soldier.
They're the 10th Mountain Division, a formidable force that's the most deployed unit of the Army.
Any given soldier will tell you that's the reason why they're here. We are training, we're ready to go, and no matter where it is in the world, they want to get that phone call.
With 3 brigades of soldiers at Fort Drum in upstate New York, and another in Louisiana at Fort Polk, the 10th Mountain Division has answered the call time and time again. In World War II, the 10th was an elite Alpine combat unit. Today, troops in the 10th no longer train for mountain warfare. They handle any kind of mission. Always on the move, the one constant at the 10th Mountain Division has been its ability to evolve and adapt to the changing nature of war.
And there has been some sort of explosion, yet unconfirmed, that a plane has hit the World Trade Center.
Within hours of the attacks on 9/11, Fort Drum was on high alert. Inside the base, 10th Mountain soldiers were getting ready to go. It wasn't long before the Army's most deployed force was headed out on yet another mission. They were the first conventional troops into Afghanistan, sent in to secure Bagram Air Base. 10th Mountain soldiers were eager to join the fight.
I mean, this was round one, take one of the global war. We were going to set the stage, and definitely wanted to be a part of that.
But at first it seemed like the 10th might not see any action. The war against the Taliban and Al-Qaeda had been an unconventional war, fought for the most part by Northern Alliance and Special Forces. 10th Mountain troops spent most of their time pulling guard duty.
All we had done was the guarding of the airfield at Bagram. Morale started to plummet.
It gets real boring just sitting there and pointing a gun outside of the perimeter and really with no action going on.
By February, the unit was preparing to leave Bagram and head home. Suddenly, plans changed.
Rumors started surfacing that there's going to be this big combat operation and that we were actually going to take part and that we weren't going home. And excitement returned, morale went up, and that's where we wanted to be.
Operation Anaconda targeted one of the last strongholds of Al-Qaeda and Taliban forces in the mountainous Shahiko Valley in eastern Afghanistan. The joint operation would be spearheaded by Afghan and Special Forces that would drive the enemy south towards blocking forces from the 101st Airborne and 10th Mountain Division. The operation was expected to take 3 days.
The company commanders has a good key point.
The way we were briefed was you may expect from 70 to 200 enemy personnel in the valley. It was considered a low threat.
It seemed like a pretty simple mission. Of course, when you plan for something, you always expect the worst. So you also plan for that, too.
In the early morning of March 2nd, 3 Chinooks carrying 120 10th Mountain soldiers headed for the Shahiko Valley, more than 9,500 feet above sea level.
I was nervous. I think whenever you go into combat, you're nervous.
Troops landed at their positions around 0600.
I could still see the birds taking off and flying away. And then artillery rounds, small arms, mortars, RPGs, RPKs, AK-47s, they just nonstop firing.
Couldn't really tell what was coming from at first, because you'd have a round land to your right, then one would be to your left, and they're all going in different directions.
They expected a couple of hundred enemy fighters on the valley floor to their north. And in fact, what they found was they were being engaged from the west, east, and north by Al-Qaeda fighters in greater strength than they had expected and on much higher ground than they'd expected to find them.
The 101st Airborne also was under heavy fire, and the Afghani forces that were the main thrust of the operation were stymied up north. Operation Anaconda was in trouble.
They took shelter in a hollowed-out piece of ground whose shape eventually led it to become known as the Halfpipe, Hell's Halfpipe. And from there, they basically threw back as much fire as they could.
The soldiers, many of whom had never been in combat before, fought fiercely.
Everything just kind of clicks into place and you start executing.
But the enemy barrage was too intense for helicopters to lend support. The soldiers of the 10th were fighting valiantly, but they were essentially pinned down. When mortar rounds came in, they took their first casualties.
Help them up.
You actually seen people who are wounded and bleeding. That's when it kind of kicked in that this is real.
You get really, really pissed off. You want to find them and kill these guys that are trying to kill you and, injure your soldiers.
Hours went by, and the battle didn't let up.
You accept the fact that you possibly could die out there. Once you come to terms with yourself and you're like, okay, we're going to die here, let's make the best of it. Maybe some of these kids can get out of here alive.
Back at Bagram, troops started to get the news.
I am on the PZ break.
We start hearing the radio calls, hey, we're in contact, casualties. And I'm sitting there going, I need to be there. Our brothers are down.
But the 10th was hanging on, so the decision was made to wait until dark to send in support. Night vision technology meant the U.S. owned the night. Airstrikes from AC-130 gunships soon devastated enemy forces, clearing the way so the choppers could land. Finally, after sustaining more than 24 casualties during 18 long hours, the troops were pulled out.
We completed our mission. Nobody got through our blocking position. We were glad to leave.
Military planners reworked Operation Anaconda. And for weeks afterwards, 10th Mountain soldiers swept the area with other coalition troops. They cleared hundreds of caves with firepower and air support, and went house to house in the small villages on the valley floor. Doing all this at altitudes of more than 10,000 feet was no easy task. After all, 10th Mountain soldiers no longer trained specifically for mountain warfare.
Altitude, kicking your butt within seconds. And then at night, the temperature drops to 10 degrees below zero, but we wanted to kick Taliban and Al-Qaeda ass. We really didn't care.
To be very frank, most of them were pretty dadgum good. I was really awestruck with this mental and physical toughness of our young soldiers.
Operation Anaconda finally ended on March 18th. 7 Americans had been killed, but no 10th Mountain soldiers had died. Yet even conservative reports said 200 to 300 enemy fighters had been killed.
Every time a unit deploys and they get into a firefight, their goal is to kill the enemy and bring back everybody alive. And the 10th Mountain Division did that.
It had been the heaviest action of the war, fought at the highest altitudes in U.S. history. But it was hardly the first time soldiers from the 10th had seen action in the mountains. The unit's roots go back to an elite Alpine combat unit started in 1941. In their signature snow camouflage called Overwhites, the country's first ski troops were a combat force unlike any other.
They recruited people from colleges and universities, Olympic skiers that came from Europe.
Most of us couldn't wait to get into the military because of Pearl Harbor, and of course we all wanted the Mountain Division because we just thought we were skiers and that was for us.
The all-volunteer unit spent years training in Colorado, skiing and mountain climbing. Critics called the unit a country club, but soldiers in the 10th were also full-fledged infantry troops, and they had to learn how to adapt these skills to the mountains.
I can remember going to the rifle range in the middle of a snowstorm. It was just everything that the flatland infantry did, but it was to the mountain restrictions. We had to get the same results.
By early 1945, success in Europe looked assured, but territory needed to be liberated inch by inch. One area that remained was in Italy, near Mount Belvedere.
Other units in other corps have tried to attack Belvedere and never succeeded. So the 10th Mountain Division was called into action.
When the 10th Mountain Division arrived, they realized the key was Riva Ridge, an area that overlooked the entire valley.
The Germans sat up there and they could look right down on Belvedere. Hey, if somebody's looking in your back pocket, that's bad.
Perched atop 1,500 feet of sheer rock face, the Germans thought it was impenetrable and manned it with only 1 battalion of troops. The ski soldiers saw their opportunity and took it. Under cover of darkness, the troops made a silent vertical ascent.
They didn't think we could climb the vertical face. They thought that we'd have to come up the slope and they would have us right in their field of fire. No, we came up the vertical part. And that was from the training we'd had.
Once the troops were in position, they waited until sunrise. The next morning, they surprised the Germans and took Riva Ridge.
German commanders were shocked that they could be surprised like that. So the division started getting their reputation as true mountain men.
The following day, they took Mount Belvedere, and for the next 2 months, the 10th was unstoppable, destroying 5 German divisions and becoming the first unit to cross the Po River. The 10th Mountain Division had proven its worth, and in the eyes of the command, it had served its purpose. But when the military was scaled back after the war, the 10th Mountain was deactivated. Ski soldiers went on to become the driving force behind the modern ski industry in the U.S., building many of the major ski resorts in the country. Without them, places like Aspen and Vail wouldn't exist.
Give entertainment, give fun, give possibilities. From MP3 players to digital cameras to gift cards, this holiday there are more gifts to give at Best Buy.
Nice suit.
Thank you.
Mine's redder.
Well, I bring the gifts of the season.
Oh, really? I bring the low prices of the season.
I slide down thousands of chimneys in one night.
I'm hanging from hundreds of thousands of GM cars right now.
I have a sleigh.
Mine's better.
The GM Red Tag event, we've made holiday shopping easy. The price on our tag is the price you pay, not a penny more.
I have a lovely wife.
Yeah, well, I live with my mother.
I know.
See some red, save some green.
Call of Duty 2, rated T for teen.
It's something we all agree on. Something we all do. And this is how it's done. USO depends entirely on the generosity of the American people. Help us support our troops until everyone comes home.
Yeah, I'm trying to add a new car to my policy online, and
No, that's not possible.
Oh, you don't do that? Can I pay my bill online? You don't do that either? You don't do that? Okay, so what do you do?
Hey, think easier. Think Progressive. Our top-rated website lets you do virtually everything with your policy, easily and instantly. Check out Progressive.com.
It's the time of the season when love runs high in this time.
Moving your 401ks to Fidelity is groovy. Our retirement specialists make it so easy, they'll even do most of the paperwork. You dig? Call 1-800-FIDELITY. Smart move.
On the Military Channel.
This is what you're trained for.
Their words.
We don't consider ourselves heroes.
Their stories.
You're in enemy territory, and people want to kill you.
Experience conflict through the eyes of those who were there.
All kinds of rockets and bombs.
Go behind the lines.
I'm so happy to be home. It's so good to be free.
Tour of Duty, Mondays at 10, only on the Military Channel.
In 1985, the 10th Mountain was reactivated as a light infantry division. The Army needed fast, mobile troops able to handle a variety of missions. No longer an Alpine combat unit, the division's mountain name now reflects its ability to overcome any challenge and carry out any mission. While today's 10th Mountain troops don't train as ski soldiers, many feel their success in the mountains of Afghanistan links them to these legendary mountain men.
Our patch has a tab over it, the mountain tab. But after Anaconda, it's almost like we earned that tab. And that's when you feel a connection to the World War II true Alpine soldiers. You really do start feeling like, you know what, I've earned this mountain tab, just like those guys in World War II. I really am a mountain soldier.
But soldiers in the 10th are ready to face far more than the mountains of Afghanistan. Since they can be deployed at any time, 10th Mountain troops have to be ready to fight on any terrain. As a result, the nearly 20,000 soldiers at Fort Drum and Fort Polk endure some of the most intense physical training the Army has to offer.
We're in the dirt, we're in the mud, we're in the cold. We stay there, we live there, we train there, we fight there.
There's nothing glamorous about the 10th Mountain. When you need a man on the ground doing a mission, maybe in a city, maybe out in the desert, maybe in the jungle, a 10th Mountain soldier is going to do that.
But turning new recruits into mountain soldiers takes a lot of work.
New soldiers and new leaders will come in and we'll start individual training. A lot of shooting, a lot of fitness training, a lot of individual skills. And we'll progress rapidly up in difficulty.
The 10th Mountain emphasizes teamwork. We work very closely as a team. There's no individuals, no I's in this organization. It is very much a we and a team feeling and effort, because we understand it takes everybody on this team to accomplish the mission and do it well.
10th Mountain soldiers have to stay in top shape. That's where PT, physical training, comes in. Every day at 7 a.m.
I want to be a mountain climber.
Physical fitness of a light infantry division is as important as it was during the Roman legions. There's no substitute for that preparedness.
These rugged light infantry troops also have to carry everything they need in their rucksacks, which can weigh up to 100 pounds. Toting that kind of load around toughens up the troops in a hurry. Of course, just getting through the winters at Fort Drum means soldiers need to be hardy.
It's probably the coldest place on the planet. A lot of snow.
It's either you're 6 feet trudging through the snow, or it's 10, 15 below.
They issued me overwhites, and I'd never seen overwhites before. I was like, oh my God, what is this? It definitely lets you know you've arrived in the 10th Mountain once you received your snow camouflage.
Go, move it.
Soldiers actually continue all of their training outdoors, no matter what the conditions. Troops even go back to the roots of the original ski soldiers, wearing snowshoes during their combat drills.
The training is the same, the difference comes in the conditions. When it's snowing, when the elements become a factor, You do the same drill, but you have to modify it based on the conditions. Soldiers up here get very tough.
And a large part of any soldier's training is spent practicing his or her job again and again.
Practice, practice, practice is true, whether it's in athletics or whether it's in the armed services or the Army. When you're under great duress, you're going to respond as you're trained.
Targets in general area, request re-attack.
Fort Drum is the only Army base with an airfield in the Northeast, so the troops get plenty of experience working with the Air Force.
You guys ready? I'm ready to fire.
Today what we're doing is called CAS, which is Close Air Support. What we have out here is a liaison team from the Air Force.
We've got several targets.
Who comes out and they call in the fighter pilots, either the F-16s or the A-10 planes to come in and drop in either rockets or bombs or use their cannons to take out enemy forces that are on the ground.
Good job, guys. Good job.
Talk to you guys later.
The troops are also put to the test with live fire exercises.
Our task in this exercise, we had a mission to come down to the trench line. We're supposed to destroy the trench so that follow-on forces can pass through this objective and move on to complete their task. We've got a lot of new soldiers that come in that have never been around a live weapon system, and really helps us build a lot of confidence in the soldier to trust his weapon system and to trust his left and right flank, that everybody knows what's going on.
Good job. Let's go.
Let's look at the videotape and let's see it.
Training is often videotaped, so they go through a post-game after-action review.
What was that for? To obscure? Okay, got it, good. Very little smoke, but you see how it's obscuring everybody's vision? We just said if you get up in there, you can probably get shot.
But modern armies don't just fight conventional battles in open terrain. The 10th Mountain faced the challenges of urban warfare firsthand in 1993 on the streets of Mogadishu in Somalia. Sergeant First Class David Schumacher, a mountain soldier for his entire career, was there.
First time out of the States, and I never thought in my wildest dreams I'd ever go to Africa. And there we were, doing, what we started out doing was peacekeeping missions.
Somalia was in dire straits. A devastating famine had swept the country, but rival warlords kept aid from reaching the people. The 10th Mountain went in as part of a UN force to help restore order. It was their first overseas mission since World War II. Troops were first welcomed by the Somali public, but they soon became embroiled in factional fighting.
We'd do different missions, and they'd get more and more braver, and they'd try to attack us a little more and more. And then it finally just came all to a head, that one night in October.
On October 3rd, 1993, a task force of Army Rangers and Delta Commandos launched a raid to arrest henchmen of a Somali warlord. This dramatic footage shows them scaling down the ropes dangling from a Black Hawk helicopter over Mogadishu. But within minutes, the mission went horribly wrong. 2 helicopters were shot down, and soldiers were stuck in an incredibly hostile situation. Civilians even celebrated on the wreckage of the Black Hawks.
Down to my level at that time, PFC Schumacher didn't know what the brigade or battalion was doing with the Rangers, And all of a sudden they said, hey, load up, get all your ammo, get on the trucks.
10th Mountain troops drove into the middle of Mogadishu to pull the Rangers out. They ran into heavy resistance from Somali militias, but finally linked up with the Rangers and fought their way to safety.
We had roadside bombs, people shooting machine guns at us, RPGs, everything else. Adrenaline just kind of, I guess you could say, takes over.
The operation lasted 12 hours, much of it spent in brutal firefights. 2 10th Mountain soldiers died of their wounds, while Task Force Ranger lost 17 men. It had been the longest sustained firefight by regular U.S. forces since the Vietnam War.
The experience you take from something like that made our unit so much better, and I think stronger, and we just turn around and put all that into training. And we try to make training as realistic as possible.
Ever since Somalia, the 10th has put particular emphasis on MOUT training, or military operations in urban terrain.
Military operations in urban terrain is a specific training program designed to train the light infantry soldier to be able to successfully fight within an urban environment that's very compartmentalized, you know, streets, alleys, sewers, rooms, hallways, and to be able to do it surgically and successfully.
Go! Fort Drum has a small-scale city where soldiers practice these tactics.
Practice makes perfect, and the more we practice this, the better we'll get from doing this mission, from either securing a building, seizing a building, supporting soldiers who are moving from building to building, or moving down the streets themselves.
We work on from very, very basic things to more complex things, like how to, enter a room or a building where there's an enemy. And what are the procedures that you use, and how you maneuver formations through those areas.
The tactics here differ from those used in a conventional battle. In Mout, soldiers operate in small 4- or 5-man stacks that keep the fire team leader in constant contact with his team.
He's got physical contact with those individuals in his stack. Once we start getting into the more complex environments, especially in a nighttime environment where we're under NVGs, it's going to be crucial that he's got positive contact to those people as he moves in.
As long as they're reacting and they're doing things the way that they train, it's going to come almost naturally as a muscle memory thing for them. This is all about survival, protecting our soldiers and bringing everybody home.
Whether in mountain terrain or urban jungles, 10th Mountain Troops know this training can mean the difference between life and death.
Virtually inaccessible, the remote Northern Territory is a fortress of alpine peaks. The terrain so brutal, its beauty has seldom been seen by human eyes. Only the most adventuresome have ever set foot in this desolate yet picturesque landscape.
This is much better than the movie.
The all-new 7-passenger Jeep Commander. It's your world. Take command. It's our Miles of Freedom plan. Now get 2 years of gas and scheduled maintenance and a 5-year or 60,000-mile limited warranty on Jeep Commander.
Attention men with thinning hair. The pictures you are about to see are not pictures of men on hair loss drugs. They are not of men wearing wigs or weaves. They are not of men who have undergone hair transplant surgery. What you are seeing are pictures of men who have taken a dramatic and simple new step toward fuller, thicker-looking hair by using a revolutionary new cosmetic hair product called Proceed. Not a daily or twice-daily regimen, Proceed is a breakthrough product you apply just once every 90 days. Proceed's unique patent-pending formula is unlike any product ever offered. These actual photos show the improvement in appearance that may occur after just one application.
I've tried everything, from vitamins to shampoos, but nothing worked for me. Then I found Proceed.
With my busy schedule, who has time for daily regimens?
I bet you can't tell I have thinning hair.
This is real, folks. It works.
Never before has a hair product been able to produce such dramatic improvement in appearance with such infrequent use. How fast you may see results will vary, but many people see it working after just one application, and Proceed guarantees it after just 3. If you are one of the millions of men who wish they could do something now about the appearance of their thinning hair, get started now for less than $70 with one application Proceed. By ordering Proceed now, we'll include our volumizing shampoo and conditioner, a 30-day supply, absolutely free. If you're not completely satisfied after just 3 applications, we'll return 100% of the purchase price, guaranteed. But you can keep the shampoo and conditioner as your gift for trying.
And it's risk-free, so you got nothing to lose by trying it.
Say hello to the appearance of fuller, thicker-looking hair by ordering Proceed right now. We couldn't say it if it wasn't true. Proceed can begin to work after just one application. Proceed, we're the one. Just one application every 90 days. Operators are standing by, so have your credit card ready to order Proceed now.
Discovery HD Theater presents the new way to experience your favorite show. See it in HD. Now you can catch TV's biggest hits in amazing high definition, like American Chopper with more power, Trading Spaces, more color, or the Jeff Corwin Experience, more bite, plus a 24/7 lineup of big specials, original series. The HD revolution is here, and we're leading the charge. What are you waiting for? Call your local cable or satellite company today to get Discovery HD Theater.
The M1A2 Abrams main battle tank now comes equipped with 2 new imaging technologies,
An independent viewer with infrared day and night vision gives the tank commander a 360-degree perspective. And for the gunner, a built-in thermal system in the eyepiece magnifies the field of view, allowing for increased range and faster target acquisition. The upgraded M1A2, a powerhouse of military might. Catch today's top-of-the-line technology, Fridays starting at 8 on the Military Channel.
Over the years, the 10th Mountain Division has gone from the mountains of Italy to the streets of Mogadishu, and the rural landscape of Afghanistan to the urban jungles of Baghdad. But while the 10th is always adapting to new battlefields, the combat situations they face are also constantly changing. In Iraq, 10th Mountain soldiers regularly put their MOUT training to the test. During one patrol in November 2004, they prepared to raid a house in Baghdad, aided by the 509th Airborne. The raid was a success. It yielded a substantial weapons cache, and several men were arrested. But this was just one of the many types of missions 10th Mountain soldiers train to handle on patrol.
There's a wide variety of reasons for patrols. Everyone's organized differently. Everyone has a task. Patrol might be going out doing a terrain denial mission. We may try to deter an attack. We may want to go out and reassure the people that there's a presence, that there's a sense of security. We may send a patrol out to conduct a reconnaissance, and we may send out patrols to do a specific combat task.
But whether on foot or in a Humvee, every patrol comes with some uncertainty.
As a soldier, being out there with the public in Iraq, you know, every person there is a possible person that can kill you. But you got to be able to do your job.
Soldiers have to put the threats they face out of their minds. For while patrols are where they're at the greatest risk, it's also where they gain the greatest reward, by establishing relationships with the locals.
The information about where the bomb is planted in the road doesn't come from the mayor to the captain. It comes from the guy who owns the store, the fruit stand on the corner, to the team leader. That's where that kind of information comes from. That's the information that saves soldiers' lives.
The children in Iraq are a key piece. You can just get into your MRE, grab out your candy, walk up to them, give it to them, and just start talking to them, and they'll tell you anything you want to know about that country.
There's 2 little boys down here that can give me information. He tells me there's a dangerous man hiding behind the mean boys.
Soon, 10th Mountain soldiers will also use technology to help them train for these missions.
I think I can translate this.
This might look like a video game. It's actually a visual simulator in development at Fort Drum called Every Soldier a Sensor.
This is a simulation so that we can train soldiers to think about things a certain way in their patrols. The point is not to shoot, it's more to explore, to gather information, and to solve puzzles.
This version is just a prototype. Eventually, this will be a complete 3D computer environment. But in this digital universe, soldiers learn to pick up on clues that can lead them to a stash of explosives.
You find that there's explosives in the crate.
Or an insurgent leader.
Pops up saying, yeah, this is the guy you were looking for. It's a useful tool, especially for squad leaders. They get their mission set up, say, all right, go run through the mission, let me see what you do. Then they say, you know, you should have looked at this, you should have reported this. We're trying to get regular soldiers in patrols to realize that if there's something else going on besides what they're being sent out to do, they should go investigate it.
Of course, computers are no substitute for hands-on experience. And the closest a soldier can get to battle before heading into combat is the Joint Readiness Training Center, known as the JRTC at Fort Polk, Louisiana. Nearly every light infantry battalion in the Army conducts exercises at the JRTC before they deploy.
4 buddies down, over. When you go to JRTC, when you get there, you're already at that level where you're trained. You're getting evaluated, basically. It's a commander's tool to see if his unit is ready for combat.
Spread over 90,000 acres, this facility allows an entire battalion, that's hundreds of people, to practice maneuvers at an incredibly realistic level of detail.
If you were to go down there, you would think you were in Iraq. The buildings, the streets. Everybody there looks and speaks, I mean, they're Iraqi Americans. It's a very, very, very realistic training environment that the Army is investing an awful lot of resources in. It's a phenomenal experience. It's kind of the prep game before the Super Bowl.
Trainers create realistic battle scenarios, complete with live explosions, gunfire, and booby traps. The JRTC even has a unit dedicated full-time to playing the role of the opposition force.
Even though it's still our soldiers, those guys are as trained as I am, and they're attacking me. With them attacking us, and us reacting to them with the small arms, with the city, with the people, it's a whole broader view.
Several hundred people act as civilians, making this a truly realistic combat situation.
They've built mock Iraqi villages, and they've hired hundreds of Iraqis and other Arabs to work there, speaking the language, so we have to work through interpreters.
Okay. Great job.
We had people who played local elders, local sheikhs, local government officials.
They're very tough, mostly mentally, because of these ambiguous situations that you're put into. Sometimes the discussion gets heated. More than teaching us rote solutions to a set of situations, the experience really teaches us how to think in situations that we may not have ever experienced before.
We don't want to teach him what to think, but we want to teach him how to think. This is complex business. It requires a great deal of restraint to be able to do the right things and make the right judgment calls under that kind of stress.
Exercises are constantly updated to include the latest scenarios being faced in Iraq and Afghanistan.
It's very, very, very real, as real as, you know, a training environment can be. But you know, most people that go through that experience, I mean, you're in it, you're in the moment, and it's very stressful. But the unit really gets a great workout in preparing itself for an actual mission.
But the best training in the world can't anticipate all the challenges of combat. In Sadr City, a poor Shiite suburb just north of Baghdad, the U.S. military faced some of the most intense urban warfare it had ever seen. In April 2004, supporters of radical Muslim cleric Muqtada al-Sadr launched a violent campaign there against coalition troops. When tensions flared again in the late summer, 10th Mountain Troops were attached to the 1st Cavalry Division and sent in to help quell the insurgency.
It felt like being a firefighter going to Sadr City. It was intense. Every day something was happening, be an explosion on a vehicle, have an RPG shot at us.
That fall, 10th Mountain soldiers and the 1st Cav faced 2 solid months of harsh combat. It was so dangerous, soldiers rarely left their Humvees.
I'd say 95% of the time that you're out on patrol in sector, something was going to happen. Whether not to you, but maybe your sister unit that's 3 or 4 streets down. You're on high alert. The second that you think that you can sit in a vehicle and just for 1 second say, hey, what was the score of the Yankees game last night? That's when something happens.
Like other insurgents in Iraq, Sadr's forces mainly launched sporadic attacks on coalition forces and targeted them with improvised explosive devices, known as IEDs. But 10th Mountain Troops quickly learned the signs that could lead to the enemy.
If you saw a concentration of Muqtada al-Sadr posters, more than likely there might be something in that building. It kind of worked against them.
While Sadr's supporters were called the Mahdi Army, in the end they were no match for coalition troops.
Anytime they stood and fought us, because our soldiers are so well trained, they couldn't stand against us. We could bring so much to a fight.
The 10th Mountain Division has proven it can handle the toughest combat situations. But urban warfare is only one of the challenges soldiers will face in the 21st century.
Four buddies turned to rivals while eating pepperoni. Suddenly they look down and notice one last slice. Jenny's sitting closest, but Mark is fat and crafty. When your gut tells you it's poker time, you gotta pull off quite a heist. You gotta know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em.
PokerTime.net, a new place to play, a new place to learn.
Whoa. Hang on. I'm sorry, dude. It's not gonna work out. Esteban.
You know, thousands of youngsters long to express their hearts through the gift of music. Hello, this is Esteban with some exciting news.
You gonna teach Dwayne how to play?
No, I just saved a bunch of money on my car insurance by switching to Geico.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Three climate zones.
How's he doing back there?
3 rows of seats, so everyone can travel in comfort.
He's fine.
The all-new 7-passenger Jeep Commander. It's your world. Take command. It's our Miles of Freedom plan. Now get 2 years of gas and scheduled maintenance and a 5-year or 60,000-mile limited warranty on Jeep Commander.
Call of Duty 2, rated T for teen.
Good things happen to people who read the Wall Street Journal.
I got promoted.
I retired at 50.
I've just opened my own business.
Good things do happen to people who read the Wall Street Journal. And even better things are happening with the new weekend edition. Now get the Journal delivered 6 days a week for just 38 cents an issue, 50% off. Today's Journal can help you improve your life in so many ways. From business insights to investment ideas to great new wines for under $20. Even a new Saturday weekend edition, complete with Friday's business news, as well as a preview of the week ahead. Plus great ideas for your personal life to keep you informed, entertained, and inspired.
Good things happen to me with the Wall Street Journal.
Make good things happen. Get 8 weeks of the Wall Street Journal, including the new weekend edition, all for just 38 cents an issue, 50% off.
Call 800-293-8900. That's 800-293-8900.
Monday on the Military Channel. Unrest in the South. Troop buildup at the DMZ. Both sides set the stage for conflict. Battlefield Vietnam, Monday at 9 on the Military Channel. Next, from secret missions at high altitudes to being deployed on covert operations, the special tactics continue with 2 more hours showcasing the people behind the missions. Next on the Military Channel.
Military conflicts in the 21st century are about more than just combat. And the 10th Mountain is adapting to face these new challenges. When 10th Mountain troops were deployed to the rural mountains of Afghanistan in 2003, they faced a more complex mission than they'd experienced just a year earlier.
It sort of transitioned from this big war to insurgency, to an insurgency. And so it's really important that leaders be able to transition from war to counterinsurgency, and that's not easy to do.
The 10th was sent to the Paktika province, a predominantly lawless region in the mountains of eastern Afghanistan.
That's where they say all the foreign fighters fled. That was a very dangerous place, and it was truly tribal there.
My mission orders were to operate in Paktika, conducting counterinsurgency operations. My job was to make the area and the population unavailable to Al-Qaeda and Taliban.
The troops had their work cut out for them. One of the 10th Mountain's main areas of operation was Shkin, a dreary fire base. The mud fortress was often compared to the Alamo, and life there definitely had a primitive feel.
It's an interesting place to live, that's for sure, but you get used to it after a while.
Frequent rocket attacks made the harsh conditions even worse.
We had a rocket attack from Lozano Ridge, 4 rockets, and they're firing artillery back at the suspected location where the rockets came from.
Less than 5 miles from the Pakistani border, the base was an easy target for enemy forces.
Sometimes it gets crazy. We make contact like almost every time we come out. So I think it's a more dangerous spot than any of the other spots around here.
Patrolling the area was a dangerous but necessary step.
One of our missions here is to deny the enemy sanctuary in this area, and the patrols go out just to show a presence here and to let the bad guys know we're looking for them.
This footage shows 10th Mountain soldiers in just one of the many firefights they had in and around Shkin. Enemy forces would make a hit and then retreat across the border, making for a never-ending game of cat and mouse. All this action even made helicopter pilots wary.
They got rocket attacks all the time, and going into there, it was a pretty tense situation. Everyone's ready to go. The engines are always kept running so that you can take off if you need to. You don't relax at the forward operating bases.
In 2003, the Paktika province was considered the most dangerous region of Afghanistan. 3 10th Mountain soldiers were killed there. One journalist called it the most evil place on earth. Putting events like these behind you is one of the toughest challenges of combat.
You have to say, hey son, still a war out there. Let's get back on the trucks. So that's pretty tough. It's pretty tough to ask a kid to do that.
But 10th Mountain troops are also on the front lines in another fight, the battle for the hearts and minds of the Afghan and Iraqi people. Doing that means working on missions that aren't about combat at all.
Both of them?
One of the most important steps is to help meet the public's basic needs.
We did a lot of humanitarian work. Mainly what we would do as the infantry soldiers, we'd walk into towns and villages, we'd get a feel for the population, and then we'd kind of do an assessment of, what they needed. Do they need schools? Do they need a well sunk?
The province we were in was truly decimated by years of war. It was a completely agrarian society, but there was nothing being grown. So we bought, several hundred tractors. We hired a vet from Pakistan. He came over, taught veterinarian classes every week. But we also cut sort of the economic reliance between these people who were, their only ties to the Taliban and Al-Qaeda were money.
The population is really what the insurgents rely on in order to stay and operate. And so the relationships that we would build with the population did probably more than anything else to defeat the insurgents there.
10th Mountain troops worked on similar projects in Iraq, getting the country up and running by protecting oil convoys or distributing school supplies.
I get them some chalkboards, chalk, pencils, paper, books, hopefully school books.
I don't know that people fully understand all the tasks that their military's been asked to do. It's not just engaging with the enemy. We had to literally stand up a government and try to train an Iraqi city council. We worked very, very closely trying to form and train police forces. And
now we're going to search them.
And then eventually the Iraqi army.
But winning over the population is about more than humanitarian projects. It's about treating the local people with respect.
It's good to see you.
Every soldier, they have to be a small part diplomat. And if they're not able to do that, then, they can really turn the population away from us.
So let's see what we get out of that.
Even when carrying out security missions, like a house search, soldiers must walk a fine line, finding out what they need to know
Saeed Masari. Have you ever heard of that name?
without alienating the population.
What was that?
They're scared if we leave, someone will come and throw a hand grenade.
Well, we'll have patrols in the area. We'll hook you up? All right. Well, you're going to have a better future, partner.
The 10th Mountain Division is uniquely suited to these increasingly nuanced assignments. having done peacekeeping missions in Somalia, Haiti, and the Balkans. They've arguably got more experience doing complicated humanitarian work than any other unit of the Army. And they're drawing on this experience in their current deployments.
When people with this patch go to places like Iraq, Afghanistan, the locals in that country remember other units of the same division, and they know what we can do. And it's not just that we're fighters and warriors, although we are those, but we are truly there to help make their life better.
The 10th Mountain Division is developing new ways to help soldiers succeed on the cultural side of today's ever-changing missions.
As the military's newest leader in air superiority, the F-A-22 Raptor is virtually invisible to the enemy. Meant to replace the F-15 Eagle, the Raptor even surpasses the stealth bomber in its revolutionary ability to evade radar detection. The Raptor's surface is layered completely with radar-absorbing material, or RAM, that absorbs and scrambles any radar that reaches it.
Catch today's top-of-the-line technology, Fridays starting at 8 on the Military Channel.
Move left and right to this one, I shout ambidextrous. Warning, alien arm bells, listen, this is an outburst. MC condition, an additional verse with a medicinal fruit burst.
Get front row seats to concerts with live streaming video from Verizon Broadband, the world's most advanced network. Even when the show's sold out, you're in.
Nice suit.
Thank you.
Mine's redder.
Well, I bring the gifts of the season.
Oh, really? I bring the low prices of the season.
I slide down thousands of chimneys in one night.
I'm hanging from hundreds of thousands of GM cars right now.
I have a sleigh.
Mine's better.
The GM Red Tag event, we've made holiday shopping easy. The price on our tag is the price you pay, not a penny more.
I have a lovely wife.
Yeah, well, I live with my mother.
I know.
See some red, save some green.
Hello, I'm Tim. I work for Bose, the company that makes the Wave Music System. The Wave Music System is one of my favorite Bose products. It's designed to be small and easy to use, but deliver the sound of a much larger system. So you can use it in your living room or your kitchen, even the bedroom. It plays CDs, AM/FM radio, even MP3 CDs. You can even add a multi-disc changer. When people hear that I work for Bose, they always ask me, does it really sound as good as they say? I like it, but it's worth hearing what others have to say.
There are critical listeners who could make the Wave Music System their primary home system. You'll think you're listening to a system that costs 5 times more.
You know, in the end, you're the best judge if it's right for you. Try it in your own home for 30 days. If you don't like it, you can return it for a full refund. I think the Wave Music System will speak for itself.
You're watching the Military Channel. Go behind the lines.
For good health, I like to stay in shape.
And speaking of shapes, check out the shape of our Craftmatic adjustable bed.
Actually, if you're not in such great shape and suffer from any of these painful health problems, a Craftmatic bed with optional heat and massage may provide temporary relief.
Even to the not-so-physically fit among us. Affordable? You bet.
Our Craftmatic Model 2 cost up to 56% less than all these quality flatbeds. No kidding, up to 56% less.
If you're concerned about the shape you're in, call toll-free and get this free Craftmatic catalog by mail.
You'll also receive this special $200 off rebate certificate, good for $200 off the Craftmatic Model 1 bed of your choice. To receive everything free,
call toll-free. There's absolutely no obligation.
Call toll-free, 1-800-980-1919. That's 1-800-980-1919. Call toll-free, 1-800-980-1919.
Tuesday on First World War, Germany stormed through Belgium on their way to invade France. And the early days of the war found soldiers scrambling for shelter until trenches were dug in. First World War, Tuesday at 10 on the Military Channel. Next, from secret missions at high altitudes to being deployed on covert operations, the special tactics continue with 2 more hours showcasing the people behind the missions. Next on the Military Channel.
10th Mountain Division soldiers know how to wage war. But their missions in Iraq and Afghanistan are about more than just combat. Troops now realize they don't simply need to know how to fight. They also need to learn how to communicate.
The most important thing that I learned throughout the entire time in Iraq is the importance of establishing relationships and being able to work with people. And it's obviously particularly difficult with people who speak a different language and a different culture.
Knowing the language is a big part of doing your job. Just knowing the basics, stop, halt, you know, that's not enough.
In 2005, the 10th Mountain opened a Center for Language and Cultural Awareness at Fort Drum, the Army's first such facility at the division level. All soldiers can use the center's library and even watch the local news from anywhere in the world via computer.
Say Gabal and Gabl.
And of course, soldiers also study up in language classes.
How are you? Shlonek? Very good, okay.
This cultural center that we've stood up gives our soldiers, our leaders, a little bit more capability in terms of understanding the basics. Soldiers and leaders that are armed with that kind of knowledge are empowered.
In front of or forward, Gadam.
For what they don't pick up in class, 10th Mountain troops have a new tool, the Voice Response Translator, or VRT.
Choose language.
Which language?
Iraqi.
Iraqi.
Show ID.
Show ID. من فضلك شو في حيوياتك؟
Pretty simple.
At just 11 ounces, the VRT can translate up to 1,000 phrases into over 100 languages. It can even be hooked up to a bullhorn to use with crowds.
Surrender.
Surrender. Intibay.
Even though I just said surrender, it doesn't just say surrender. It gives an entire sentence or two saying, attention, attention, attention. We're American soldiers. We're not here to harm you. But if you fire on us, we will fire on you. Lay down your weapons.
Of course, while knowing the language is critical, just making the effort to learn about local customs also goes a long way.
You really have to understand the people. For example, over in Afghanistan, you learn to shake hands and then cover the heart. That's a deeper sign of respect. It makes them think, you know what? They just didn't train on killing. They actually learned about us. So I think that's huge.
Adaptability has been a hallmark of the 10th Mountain Division since the unit was started in World War II. Every year, the division honors these original mountain soldiers at a memorial service in the Adirondacks.
History is a combat multiplier as far as we're concerned. This type of event really strengthens the bond between our predecessors and the 10th Mountain Division of World War II era and the soldier of today.
They're a lot tougher than the soldiers of today because of the stuff they had to do back then and the technology, so I give them big ups.
You know, when we were going to climb a mountain, we had to do it 1 foot ahead of the other. When they went on Anaconda, they got into a helicopter and were dropped off at 9,500 feet. Wow.
You guys saw this in Afghanistan.
We didn't have to carry around skis. We didn't have to climb up the Alps. So I just looked back and said, man, those guys, they were tough. And it's just, wow, I am part of these guys.
You don't know yet, do you?
While today's soldiers appreciate their links to the 10th Mountain's past, they're also eager to help shape the future.
History matters, but what matters to me most is making the history. This current time, the whole 10th Mountain is writing history.
As proof of this, in June 2004, Afghan President Hamid Karzai came to Fort Drum to thank 10th Mountain troops personally, the only U.S. military base he visited on his trip.
What you have done for us will remain in the best memories of Afghan history.
Everyone in this community was greatly appreciative of the fact that he made the effort to come here. It spoke volumes about the significance of the hard work that our men and women do on a daily basis.
20 years from now, when my grandchildren are coming up and learning American history, who knows, they might see about Somalia and Haiti and Bosnia, Kosovo, Iraq, and so on and so forth, Afghanistan, and so on. And, we'll all be there.
10th Mountain soldiers have also risen to the occasion here at home. When Hurricane Katrina hit the Gulf Coast in 2005, 10th Mountain soldiers from Fort Polk joined in the relief efforts in New Orleans. And it doesn't look like the revolving door of the Army's busiest division will slow down anytime soon. The 10th Mountain's 4 brigades remain on the move. The summer of 2005 brought one brigade home from Iraq, while another went to take its place. By winter, the division's two remaining